Very pleased today to be joined by California Congressman Kevin McCarthy, who is the House Majority Whip. Congressman, good morning to you. Good to have you here today.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So, Todd, break this down for us if you can. Basically in this CR, which is going to basically keep the government running for the next few months, you all chose not to put in anything that would have cut funding, that would have, kind of cut the legs out from underneath health care reform. Why?
No. Wait till you see the bill. But you also have to remember, the whole reason we're doing a continuing resolution, which is a CR, because the Democrats never even did a budget. So government's only funded to the beginning of March. We can only deal with what's in the bill. So you will find Denny Rehberg, who happens to be a Congress member, who's on the Appropriation Committee, he will offer an amendment that goes through that cuts different departments, because you can only deal with what's in the CR when it comes to the bill itself for the floor. So you will find there are ways that we're going in after the health care bill, but also remember, we've already had the vote to repeal health care on the floor, which was a bipartisan vote as well. This is not something that we're going slow on. This is something that we're beginning attacking from the very beginning.
So you're saying that there was no opportunity whatsoever in the CR to cut funding for health care reform?
No, there is. There's specifically areas. You can't do the whole thing, but you can go after certain departments. You could go after the IRS. You could go after Health and Human Services.
Right,
and
because those are the branches that are going to be dealing with putting this into effect, right?
Correct, and you will see that we are going after them.
So what do you make of this, these disgruntled Tea Party folks like Mark Meckler from the Tea Party Patriots? He says, you have to swing at it every single chance you get, and it's a pretty threatening message from the Tea Party Patriots that they've got all you guys on probation.
Look, I think it's good you hold elected officials accountable. You also have to remember, compare the 111th Congress to the 112th. In the first 4 weeks, when the Democrats were in the majority, they added more than $600 billion in spending. We've cut more than $600 billion in spending. This is a continual movement forward of changing the whole scope and structure of government, and you will find every bite of the apple, we're able to take it. Now, I understand the frustration out there that they want to see more at the very beginning, but we can only focus on the area that we can at the time because of the rules of the floor.
All right, well, I understand what you're saying. I want to talk to you a little bit about the other side of the building that you're in right now, over on the Senate side. There's a report this morning that says that some really leading Senate Democrats may be open to some negotiation on some pretty serious changes in health care because they find themselves in some pretty tough election patterns for the coming election. Let's put up some of these pictures. They include Claire McCaskill, John Tester, Joe Manchin, Ben Nelson. What are you hearing from your side over there about whether or not there may be some Senate Democrats who might be willing to abandon the president on health care?
I think there's some Senate Democrats and there's some Democrats in the House. Remember, there are 21 Senate Democrats that got elected in 2006. That was a much different wave than what they just saw in the last election. And, in the Senate, that's the country club. The House is what I refer to as the truck stop, where everybody's able to see a microcosm of society. The Senate isn't always home. They're going back home and hearing a really clear, different message when the last time they got elected. They're going to be much more open to the legislation that we pass as in the House, that they're going to want to be with us. And look at what the Blue Dogs are saying. They're saying that Nancy Pelosi, their leader, is not listening to them. Look at the number of them who voted with us on repealing the health care.
So it sounds like you feel like there's some room to pull some of those Democrats, both in the House and in the Senate, over to your side. Let me ask you this, though, before I let you go. Sort of two paths here. You can cut funding to, Health and Human Services, for example, and other entities that are going to drive the health care reform. And then you've got the Supreme Court path. Which one do you think is going to be more effective in the end?
Well, I think you do both, but if you really look at the very beginning, you could still have the presidency sitting there. Is he going to veto the bill? Or are we going to have enough votes there? I think you have to go through it on the funding, but really what can knock the entire thing out is through the court system can be very, very strong. And when you look at the decision that was made in Florida, that is a very strong decision that I think the Supreme Court is going to have to look at this bill. Yep,
we heard President Obama respond to that with Bill O'Reilly over the weekend, saying he vehemently disagreed with that court's decision. We'll see where it goes. Congressman McCarthy, very nice to have you with us this morning in America's Newsroom. We thank you so much for being here. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me.